Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Creating the Crafty Life's Creative Weekly Wisdom. And today I'm going to show you guys how to combine your die cuts, and you can either use your metal dies or you can use electronic die cuts. Today I'm just going to use my Vagabond and excuse me, some die cuts that I have, and we're gonna go from this to this, or using the Spiral Blossom, this, sorry that's a little dark, to this. And pretty much we're going to do the same process, except we're going to use embossing folders, and that gives it a little bit more dimension. Now, depending on the embossing folder that you use, it can, and the inks that you're using, it can create a more vintage look, it can create a more modern look, or just a textured look. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, let me just back up just a little bit and we'll get started. Okay, I'm just using some leftover cardstock that I have. I'm going to show you both the spiral option and then also the poinsettia. This is just like, you can use this for any stacked flower that you have. It does not have to be the poinsettia. So let's get started. The Spiral Blossom, I think, is a little bit easier, and what I'm going to do is we'll just do this one first. So let's go ahead and die cut it. And like I said, you can use, if you have just regular die cuts, like from your electronic cutting machine, sorry, let's get this kind of straightened out a little bit more, guys. You can also use those. You do not have to use, you know, die cutting machine. So whatever you have, this would work really well for punches if your flowers were big enough. I don't really have any punches that are this big, like flower punches that are this big, but you could, if you had a butterfly, you could add texture to a butterfly the same way. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and take this. Now the embossing folder that I'm going to use is an Anna Griffin one, and it's Anthus, I don't know, but there is the information right there, and you can see it's got just leaves and just like a really pretty, I would almost call it like a paisley kind of pattern. I also have like this linen one that would be pretty, but pretty much anything that you have like an all over pattern. Polka dots work, stripes would work too, depending on the widths of them, but you just put it in. Then we have our flower. Okay, now when you guys are doing this, I always recommend doing the embossed side, not the debossed side. It just gives you a little bit more texture to try and keep my workspace a little bit more ink free. Today I'm using the Close to My Heart Espresso. It just happened to be the ink that I had here on my desk, and I'm just going to just real roughly run over the embossed part, okay? You can pounce it on there, you can rub it. It just, again, depends on the look. So I wanted this flower to be a little more vintagey for the project that it is eventually going to go on. I wanted it to be just a little more, a little darker, and you can see my hands are covered in that ink. What I also like to do is I also like to come in and I just like to do the edges. Now, again, this inking part is what really makes your design kind of pop out, but the ink that you use is going to give it a different look, I guess, as well as the embossing folder itself. So again, just keep that in mind when you're looking at the different flowers and what type of look that you want with them. Okay, all right. Close that so I don't get ink everywhere. Now I use a pair of reverse tweezers. You guys roll these however you are comfortable with. Now when you are rolling this, you want the inked side rolling it to the inside. You don't want to roll it to the outside. It will give you a different look. I just prefer it this way. I feel like you can see more of the definition when the ink is rolled to the inside. Now some people might think that that is counterintuitive because, you know, on the inside it's not going to be seen as much, but the way that the petals fall, that you'll be able to see it more when you roll it to the inside. Okay. All right. Just roll in. Now a lot of people like to use their glue gun to adhere these. If that's your preference, you can use that. I'm just going to use my wet glue, and oh my gosh, I just forgot the name of my wet glue. It's been a minute. Art glitter glue. I can't believe I forgot the name of it, but again, well loved. I just keep refilling this bottle. I actually bought a gallon of it and it's lasted me quite some time. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're just going to adhere this like we normally would for our rolled flowers. I did put quite a bit there, and now I'm going to add just the bop to the center, and we're just going to bring it, and then you just let it go, and you can let it unroll to where you want it to unroll to. And then the art glitter glue dries really fast. That's why when I'm making these, I'm okay with using it if I'm just making a couple of them. If I was going to make more, if I was going to make a bunch, I would probably get out my my hot glue gun. And you're just going to hold it down, and then, you know, just gently kind of roll the petals back just like that, and there it is. I can't get it too close because it'll lose. Let's see. Oh, there we go. There's the glare. There we go. So it gives you quite a bit of definition. All right. Okay. All right. So there is the rolled version of this. So let's move on to the other version. It's just as simple, and I really like the way that it turns out. I'm just cutting this in half so it's easier to go through my die cut machine. All right, and I'm going to use the Brenda Walton, what is it? It is the Poinsettia Swirl, okay? And I'm going to cut 2 of these. So now I have my 2 sets cut out. These do pop out nice and clean with the sandwiches that I was using. So I do tend to try and leave those in there. I'm not going to use them for these projects, but they are nice to have on hand just because they're already pre-die cut, like the swirl. I don't tend to use a lot of red leaves, but you could. Okay, so now I have my 4 sets right there. Now you could make 2 flowers, or you can stack them all together. So the first thing let's do is we're going to emboss our leaves. And this is the Paper Studio. This one doesn't have a name, but this is the holly. It's got the berries and the leaves in there. Depending on your embossing and how thick your paper is, sometimes you may not want to overlap these, but at this point I'm okay with overlapping them. If there is a crease where they sit, I'm going to be okay with that because they're going to be stacked and it's not going to be noticeable. So, and now I have my 4. And when we get to this point, again, when I ink it, I'm going to ink the embossed side, not the debossed side, okay? This I'm going to do super messy. You can use red for this if you wanted to. If you wanted to also, like just a deeper red, that would give you a more subtle look, but we're just going to go for it with this project. So use the inky fingers, but that's what you get. Now the next thing I'm going to do to give it just a little bit more definition is I'm going to take my bone folder and I'm just going to curl the edges, and it just gives it just a little bit more definition. I know now we're just going to stack them, and as you're stacking them, just put a dot of glue. That's a lot of glue. Got a little wild on that. And then you want to stagger them. So you want to offset them so they're kind of like filling in those gaps. And again, it just gives it more dimension. I guess dimension is the word of this video. Okay, we're just gonna do a little dot right there. Okay. Now for this project, what I was thinking that I wanted was a like gold glitter, and then I came across these. Now these are silver, kind of silver and gold at the same time. I got these. These are the holiday gems from like the Michael's like dollar spotter or something like that. And I just thought that they were just enough sparkle. Now you guys will notice that I have not done leaves for these, but you can do those at any time. Okay. All right. And that is done. So, okay, you guys. All right. So these are the plain ones. They're nice. They're pretty, you know, and they would be great on a lot of projects. And then we have these where they're embossed. They're a little deeper. They've got a little more texture, dimension, that kind of stuff. This is a different color cardstock, so just be aware of this. These two are the same colors. Okay. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this week's Creative Crafty Wisdom with creating Crafty Life. If you guys choose to do this technique, I would love to see it. So please let me know, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.